Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for November the 1st, 2017. Let's begin with our draft minutes from the October 25th meeting. I will move to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. On to our consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, we have one item on the consent agenda this morning. Item number 1 is Metropolitan Telecommunications of Maryland, Inc., DBA Mettel, filed revised tariff pages. The company proposes to revise its tariff to include its Enterprise Infrastructure Solutions contract with the United States General Services Administration.
Any questions on the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing and direct the company to file clean copies of the revised tariff pages with an effective date of November 1st, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
First item on the administrative agenda, item number 2, is the Association of Maryland Pilots, filed revised tariff pages. The association proposes to modify its rates and charges for its Maryland pilotage services.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Janice Flynn for this item. The Association of Maryland Pilots has filed revised tariff sheets increasing charges that apply to all vessels piloted in the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries. These charges are being increased in accordance with the stipulation and agreement that was adopted in 2002. It's order number 77555. This stipulation permits an annual adjustment to the association's pilotage rates and charges based on the most recent 5-year preceding moving average of the general price inflation as measured by the Consumer Price Index, the CPIU, issued by the U.S. Department of Labor. These proposed charges affect the day rates and charges portion of the association's tariff. The docking charges are not being changed. Staff has reviewed the tariff and finds that it accurately reflects the increase in the 5-year preceding moving average CPI, and staff recommends that the Commission accept the proposed tariff for filing with an effective date of January 1st, 2018.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for our staff?
I would just be interested to know, do we track overall where we stand with other ports on the East Coast? I would say both being competitive with those ports with our rates, and then on the other side, are we competitive as far as how we pay our pilots? Do we have any kind of information on that front?
No, we do not track. I know the last rate case, of course, we did that sort of comparison, but.
Okay, yeah, at some point that might be, since this is part of our responsibility here, just to maybe have at some point that data, just to kind of know where we stand, particularly with the East Coast port. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, we also have the Association of Maryland Pilots with us today. So,
Morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. For the record, James McGee with Alexander and Cleaver on behalf of the association, and with me is Captain Eric Nielsen, the president of the association, and he's happy to address the question that Commissioner Richard raised as well.
Our rates per hour and per mile are the least expensive in the country. Part of that is because of the length of the trip, but we, and for instance, to come to from Cape Henry, the mouth of the bay, to Baltimore, the rate is about twice what it is to go from Cape Henry into Virginia, but the trip is about 7 times as long. So it's our rates are very, very competitive. And our actual compensation, those numbers are really hard to come by. A lot of most groups, in fact, it's not public information. Rates in most areas are set by their state assembly, and they don't go into that kind of detail. The information that is available in some ports is it's kind of convoluted because sometimes they'll include all the benefits, like health benefits that self-employed people have to pay, pension benefits, and things like that, and other times they're excluded. So it's when we've had our rate cases in the past, it is really hard to find those kind of numbers, and pilot commissions around the country are always trying to get them, and it's tough. So there you go.
Great. Thank you, Captain. I'm sorry, may I?
Yeah,
Were
of
you
course.
Yeah,
No.
I was just going to thank you for that answer. Are you having difficulty attracting the talent we need in Maryland based on our rates, or are we generally holding our own?
We are able to have enough viable candidates. Yes, it's the pool is shrinking because they come from the U.S. Merchant Marine, which is shrinking. There's fewer and fewer ships every year, and we're all these groups around the country are looking for the same candidates. So it is difficult, but at least thus far we're able to hold our own. I think overall we are probably, just my sense of it is, we're probably below average, but still it's a fine way to make a living, and people are willing to come to Maryland because it's a very nice place to live.
Great. Thank you, and thank you for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to mention parenthetically that some of us had a chance to visit the port and the facilities recently, and the port is thriving. It was a very exciting visit, and I wanted to mention that. And a large part of that, I think, is due to how the port is managed, and of course the pilots have a long history there, and their philanthropic outreach to the educational fiber in Maryland and to the city of Baltimore is significant and worth mentioning here. So I just wanted to mention that while we had this opportunity. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Captain Nielsen, could you give us an update on your headquarters? I believe last time we spoke, you were in some transition.
Well, we have moved back.
Okay.
We got back in the summertime, and it is still turmoil. But we're happy to be back, and we're back to our diverse vendors that we'd had before we moved, and we've found some others too. So that's an ongoing effort. And while if I may, I would like to thank the staff for handling this CPI escalator so efficiently. When we worked this out in 2002, we didn't really, we meaning pilots and industry, didn't consider the processing time. And what's really important for industry is to know what the rates are going to be as early as possible. And we thought having September being the last bit of data, which we get in October, would be a good idea. And it really has put pressure on staff to get it done, because they would like to know what the rates are going to be January 1st in 6 months in advance. But they're very satisfied with the way it is now, especially getting it done so early in November. It really means a lot to them. And I was meeting with them this morning, and they wanted me to express their pleasure that this has worked out so well. So thank you very much.
Well, thanks for passing that on, Captain Nielsen, and it's always good to see you. Thanks for coming today.
It's a pleasure. Take care.
With that, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the commission accept tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of January 1st, 2018.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, next item on the agenda, item number 3, is Paytel Communications, filed revised tariff pages. The company proposes to revise rate plan structures, add rates, increase rates, and delete and revise text.
It's Janice Flynn again for this item. Paytel Communications has filed tariff changes to comply with the FCC's second report and order rates for inmate calling services. The FCC order became effective on March 17, 2016 for prisons and June 20th, 2016 for jails. The FCC order set ancillary charges and rate caps applicable to intrastate inmate calling services, including automated payments, use of a live agent, and paper billing charges. The order bans companies from charging for ancillary services, including other ancillary services, including per call and connection charges and flat rate calling. The company stated that these proposed rates have been effective since June 20th, 2016. In the past, the Commission has assessed penalties to companies that fail to make compliant tariff revisions in a timely manner. Since this company has had adequate time to make its compliance filing, the staff is recommending a $100 civil penalty. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the tariff revision for filing and direct the company to file a clean copy of the effective tariff pages with an effective date of today. Staff also recommends that the Commission assess a civil penalty of $100.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Commissioner Richard and Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yeah, did the company give any reason for why it's taken so long for them to file their tariffs?
Let me let Mr. Ponzieri.
Jeff Ponzieri, on behalf of staff. The company had merely stated that they did not have the resources to devote to the tariff filing.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask if it had something to do with the fact that they do negotiate. If I understand correctly from our previous discussion on this topic that the prisons negotiate these rates, and sometimes there are funds that go to other I guess resources for the prisoners. Is that in play at all in this case?
That's correct, but that was not in play in this
Oh.
in this case.
Okay, well, great, thank you.
Just a question on the civil penalty of $100. It almost seems like that's like a cost of doing business. No, never mind. Is there a deterrent effect that attaches to that, or is it high enough? Is it tradition? What's the basis of the $100?
Yes, the $100 is the cost of filing the tariff, and in addition, although that they did miss the filing deadline, they have stated that they have charged the correct rates. So I believe that the $100 is kind of like the cost of doing business, and believe it's a reasonable amount to assess.
Does this happen very often?
This has not happened that often. I've seen this in the annual switched access filings a couple of times, but this is the first time for a FCC inmate order.
Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional? Yes.
Yeah, just one more question. Was the company operating business as usual during the period of time between the filing and today?
Yes, the company was, yes. They provide service to 3 facilities in Maryland.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the items before us. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For item number 3, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing, direct the company to file clean copies of the revised tariff pages with an effective date of November 1st, 2017, and direct the company to pay a civil penalty to the Commission in the amount of $100.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda, item number 4 is Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed its calculation of the gas administrative charge under Rider 12 of its gas service tariff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Lloyd Spivak for the Commission staff. Item number 4 is the annual recalculation of Baltimore Gas and Electric Company's gas administrative charge, or GAC, applicable under Rider 12 of its gas service tariff, to be effective today. The Commission adopted a gas administrative charge for customers on BGE's sales service by order number 80265, issued September 14, 2005, which approved a settlement of Phase 3 of case number 8950. The charge removed from gas base rates all customer costs associated with the provision of the gas commodity service. The gas administrative charge includes the gas commodity portion of credit and collections cost, commodity billing, uncollectibles, and the PSC assessment for revenues associated with sales service. The gas administrative charge calculation is required to be submitted in October of each year and is applied to the monthly gas commodity price beginning in November of each year. Staff has reviewed the gas administrative charge calculations and determined that the revised calculations are accurate and consistent with the calculation required under the Case 8950 settlement. When all the components are added up, the effect of the gas administrative charge on an average residential gas bill is unchanged from the 12-month period that just ended. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the new gas administrative charge for filing effective today.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? If not, we also have the company with us, Ms. Secor.
Good morning, Chairman Hughes and Commissioners. Beverly Secor on behalf of BG. I don't have any additional comments, but I'm here if you have any questions.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Secor? Okay. If not, I want to thank Ms. Hernandez for her analysis today. Very, very helpful, very thorough. With that, do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the new gas administrative charge for filing with an effective date of November 1st, 2017.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, last item on the agenda today, item number 5 is Maryland American Water Company filed an application to issue up to $10 million in long-term debt.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Kenneth Albert on behalf of staff. This item addresses a request by Maryland American Water Company for authorization to issue up to $10 million of long-term debt. They'll primarily use the revenue from this debt to finance construction of water impoundment project, essentially a storage pond, along with a water intake facility to bring water in to the pond. This will provide an additional supply of water for the company. These projects were required by an agreement between the company and the Maryland Department of the Environment to upgrade the capacity of the water distribution system to address drought conditions. The proposed debt will reduce the company's common equity rate, the equity ratio, the equity of stock versus debt as a component of their capital structure from roughly 52% to roughly 49%. This will, over all things being equal, have a downward impact on rates in a future rate case because of the higher cost of equity versus debt. Staff believes that the proposed debt is justified, and therefore staff recommends that the Commission grant the company's request for authorization to issue the debt.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? If not, okay, we have the company here, and Mr. Frisbee, we'll start with you.
Thank you,
Good
Mr.
morning.
Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Russell Frisbee here on behalf of Maryland American Water Company. I don't have any additional comments, but I would like to introduce Barry Suits, the president of the company, Richard Corby, operations manager, and Gary Exenson, who is the senior rates manager.
All right, well, thank you. Well, since we have the company here, first of all, let me say I am happy to see that the capital projects are going forward, and that the approval of our item today will help facilitate that. Could you give us kind of an update on the storage pond in terms of the timeline for its construction and operation?
Yes, we're currently under construction of both the reservoir, the storage pond, and the pump station structure on the other side of the stream that connects it with our plant. We expect that to be completed near the end of next year and ready to be put in service maybe late next year or early 19.
Very good. Happy to hear the progress you're making on that.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that part. Barry Suits, President, Maryland American Water.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Suits. Any questions for Mr. Suits? No? All right, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you coming today. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move the Commission grant the company's request for authority to issue up to $10 million in long-term debt and to direct the company to file reports as required by COMAR 20.07.04.02C.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you again. Thanks, everyone. We are adjourned.